liberty. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Oh, that's right. Come on along and welcome to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate you taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride here on this Tuesday, March 19th. Thanks a lot for joining us. Justin Kalen high atop the Crew Chiefs box as always.
That's right.
Plenty to get to on the program today, of course. Joins us as always, as will Mike Schumann of the Daily Hoosier. Indiana basketball on tap tonight. We got a lot to talk about. The women's team makes the tournament as well. We'll hear from Archie and Jawan and Coach Morin. Lots to get to. Before we do all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 19th day of March 2019. As Indiana women's basketball does indeed make the NCAA tournament, they get a 10 seed as they will travel to Eugene, Oregon to take on Texas Friday at 7 p.m. Indiana men get set to take on St. Francis in the first round of the NIT tonight at 7 in a Simon Scott Assembly Hall, and the NCAA tournament also starts tonight as the play-in games begin with Fairleigh Dickinson taking on Prairie View and Belmont taking on Temple. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 19th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back. Lots to get to. Tournament action starts tonight. The NIT begins at Simon Scott Assembly Hall at 7 o'clock tonight. Indiana taking on St. Francis. The vaunted St. Francis Red Flash for the Northeast Conference. Co-champions, no doubt.
Yeah.
Co-champions. They did so well, they were promptly awarded with an 8 seed in the NIT tournament. That's equivalent to a 16 seed in the NCAA.
Worse, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is worse, but I'm just saying, tournament-wise, it's equivalent to being you're the last place seed, man.
Yeah.
This is a conference champion. That's how you doing? I hope your day's going well. We can get you off to a good start. Chronic Hoosier is going to be with us today. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. The women's team, they made it. They made the big dance. As expected, they will be going dancing Friday night in Oregon, 7 o'clock, taking on Texas. Big battle for the women's team, but I think they're up to it. It's 10-7 seeds battle. The women's team with the 10 seed. We'll hear from Coach Terry Morin today.
What about that? What about the bracket leaking?
That's exactly where I'm going to right now. Yesterday, we're waiting to find out. I was supposed to go out. The women's program was having something. I was going to go out there, and then around 3 o'clock, there's a leak. The bracket was first revealed around 3 p.m. Then again, 2 hours later, on an impromptu program in reaction to the error. And all that comes before the network's scheduled 7 o'clock selection special. The good news is, this hour we've already seen the bracket host Maria Taylor said at the top of the primetime show.
Wow.
Now we get to break it down.
Wow.
All these schools had selection parties, and the ones that were waiting to see if they got in. I mean, they all had these parties planned. It was a big screw up.
Yeah. Makes you wonder how something like that could even happen.
Well, Blake Dubonis appeared to be the first person to share ESPN's error during an afternoon bracketology re-air. He quickly posted photos on Twitter of the women's matchups being showed along the channel's bottom bar, as well as a column on the right side of the screen, presumably where the men's pairings were supposed to be. In working with the NCAA to prepare for tonight's women's selection special, we received the bracket similar to years past, ESPN said in a statement. In the midst of our preparation, the bracket was mistakenly posted on ESPNU. We deeply regret the error and extend our apology to the NCAA and the women's basketball community. We will conduct a thorough review of our process to ensure it does not happen again in the future. What occurred behind the scenes leading up to the graphic mix-up largely remains a mystery. No one's taking the blame, I guess. Also a bit of a mystery is why ESPN and the NCAA agreed to add an impromptu 5 o'clock bracket reveal show and turn the 7 p.m. special into a bracket breakdown.
Yeah.
A decision seemingly made to limit the damage only added more chaos. You know, in 2016, the men's bracket leaked
Yeah.
during the selection show in what at the time felt like a protest of a lengthened format rather than a screw-up. The broadcast then opted not to mention the leak, opening up an alternate timelines for fans discussing blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's kind of funny, man. Everybody's already, well, I guess so-and-so made it. This is accurate. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm seeing Indiana, and I'm like, all right. Well, so much for that party.
That's
Needless to say, I did not back there.
I just am still so baffled how that could happen. I mean, I get it, mistakes happen, but good grief, what a screw up. I mean, I guess it helps teams like Indiana who were waiting to see where their fate was, and they were able to find out a lot earlier.
And, you know, CBS is sitting back going, see what happens when you let the rookies take over. CBS hosts the men's broadcast, ESPN the women's. Hope your day is going well. From Terry Morin, coach of the women's program today. How are you doing? Like or follow us on Facebook. You can find the show rebroadcast if you don't catch it live every day. You can find it wherever you find podcasts. Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. You can find us on thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or at thegruelingtruth.net. You can find me on Twitter at Jim Coyle, ISB. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Joe did that. Before he lost it, where did it go? IU played a good non-conference schedule and only lost 2 in non-conference, and one of those by 1. Yeah, is that the one to Arkansas?
Yeah.
Don't think I that.
Who's also in the NIT.
Who is possibly going to be in for a rematch in Assembly Hall. If Indiana wins, which they most definitely will, and if Arkansas were to win, then that's who the opponent would be.
Going to be tough for Arkansas, though, because their big man, Daniel Gafford, came out and said he's going to hire an agent and head to the NBA, so he will not play in the NIT tournament. So if Arkansas does move on, that benefits Indiana.
That is just, I don't get that.
I mean, do you really want to risk an injury in the NIT? Not that injuries happen all that frequently in basketball, but
how often how often in basketball do you see an injury like that in a tournament game?
Yeah. Not very often.
It's just, and who is this guy? Gafford, where's he expected to go?
That's a great question. I imagine if he's doing this, he's probably locked in for a first round.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
One moment, please.
Oh, you're checking that out. Did you see? Yeah, there was a cow loose at the Chick-fil-A in Noblesville.
I did not. Well, let's hear it. That sounds like a great story.
That was it.
Eat
Cow was
more
caught
chicken.
on camera Saturday running from police in the direction of the restaurant located in the Hamilton Town Center in Noblesville, just north of Indianapolis. Noblesville police pointed out the cow was stopping traffic. Noblesville Police Department was able to run with the bulls last night. They were chasing that bovine all over the east side.
Just wanted to thank the Chick-fil-A.
It's kind of funny. There's this Charolais cattle just standing up in the nice landscaping.
That's great.
Eat chicken. He should have had a sign
Yeah,
that said eat chicken.
eat more chicken. Daniel Gafford, by the
Eat
way,
more chicken.
listed at number 20 in the mock draft I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's first round.
Yeah.
But really, Zion Williamson is playing.
I think you got to look at the quality of the tournament, in my opinion.
Why? What the hell does that matter?
I mean, you're obviously going to be a lot more excited and hyped to play in the NCAA tournament as opposed to the NIT.
You play for Arkansas.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
You play on a crappy Arkansas team. It's just a joke. It's like the article that Kravitz wrote about Romeo. I like Bob.
Yeah.
Bob's a respected journalist. But I think that was the issue I have with it is because that suggestion had not been brought up by the parties involved about Romeo sitting out or not, and so for that suggestion to be made first via an article, I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
I think that's overstepping the bounds.
Has there been an article all season long
That's not journalist. To me, that's not journalistic. That's just not what a journalist is supposed to be doing. There's a difference between a fan page and a real legit media.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't think people know the distinction a lot of the times anymore. And I was having that discussion yesterday with somebody and discussing Indiana's end of the season. And I'm like, well, I think we just need to support the team. I'm like, dude, I'm not here to support or bash. I'm here to report.
Yeah.
This is not a fan page or a fan show. I hope the fans enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's legit media, man. It's not a raw session and all that. And I think that's the problem with too many people don't understand the difference.
Has there been an article all season long that drew the ire of fans like this?
No, not to my knowledge.
That story caught a lot of attention.
Well, which is what it was supposed to do.
Exactly.
That was its entire intention. That's its entire intention. It did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It got the attention. It's for The Athletic, a new up-and-coming site that has grabbed a lot of writers like Bob Kravitz, who are well-known in the area. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. Get people's attention. Sell, push. It's exactly. Because it's ridiculous. First, it's a ridiculous assertion that comes from a column.
Yeah.
My opinion.
I was just interested in how many people that got to that just were not happy about it. And you're right. I mean, Bob is respected. I've always heard nothing but good things.
Well, I want to go by that. Don't if I go that far. I promise you, if you're inside the Indiana men's basketball coaches' offices right now, you wouldn't be hearing good things.
No.
Joker texted on the text line. That was from yesterday. Well, yes, I know that, Joker. I think Drew was talking about scheduling cupcakes. Oh, he's talking about yesterday's Drew Davis. I got to start reading Joker's text before I just read them on the air.
Gonna have the text line filter.
Yeah, yesterday he tried to throw the joke at me that I caught at the last second. You can hit us up on the text line, though, 812-269-6367. Make sure that you catch the game tonight. If you can't watch it on ESPN, you can catch that game right here. You don't have to go anywhere. It comes tip time is 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. The pregame starts an hour before the game. Don Fisher on the call. Check it out. Check it out. Indiana should skate in this game. I'm curious as to how many people are going to show up. It's a different configuration, a different setup, because this is tournament play. This is not really a home game for Indiana, although it is. They don't control. Like, the locker rooms will be open to the media, which that does not happen for us normally at Indiana, which it's very, very nice to be able to do that, because it affords you the ability to ask players who you want to talk to, number one, and to be able to ask them your own questions without being proctored, so to speak.
Do you expect a big student turnout tonight with the free student tickets?
Good question, man. Good question. When's spring break?
I believe it was last week, right? Weren't they gone for the final home game? Who'd they play?
Maybe.
Rutgers? I think the students were gone for the Rutgers game.
Maybe. I don't think they're gone. Because that was a problem before, I think.
Yeah.
The last time Indiana played in the NIT. But I'm still trying to think of what was the discussion I was having online on Mike Schumann's page yesterday. It was a response to something.
Well, let's take a break, and I'll figure it out for you.
Oh, right. Is it break time? Great.
Break time.
Time flies when you're having fun. Hey,
That's
we got
right.
a lot coming up on the program today. Make sure you stay tuned in the next hour. Chronic Hoosier is going to join us. Mike Schumann will join us from the Daily Hoosier. Plenty to talk about. The women's team makes the dance. The men's team play tonight. All that and much more here on Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more after this.
Ruby Tuesday, who could hang a name on you when you change?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Monday. Hope your week is off to a great start, and we can help you with that by welcoming in the great Don Fisher, the voice of the Hoosiers. Don, thank you, sir, for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Obviously not the ending that Hoosier fans and Hoosier players or anybody in the Hoosier Nation was looking for, but the Indiana team will take on St. Francis in the NIT tomorrow night after getting knocked out of the Big Ten tournament by Ohio State last Thursday.
Yep, certainly without question, it's not what Indiana fans were hoping for, and can't blame them. I don't think any of us were thinking that that this team was going to get beat in the first round, or their first game, I guess I should say, in the end in the Big Ten tournament. But that's exactly what happened, and it's just been kind of a bizarre year, almost a microcosm of what happened during the season, in the sense of this team kind of looking great for a while and then kind of going away from that aspect of it here late. And without doubt, losing the ball game against Ohio State, not a shocker in the sense that Ohio State's not a really good team, because they are, especially when they have all their weapons available to them, and they certainly did with Caleb Wesson coming back after that 3-game suspension at the end of the season. But that said, Indiana played in the first half and the early part of the second half much like they did in that 12 of 13 game losing streak, 12 loss, 13 game losing streak that they had back in January and February. And I have no understanding of what happened there, other than the fact that they just flat out couldn't shoot it for that 30-minute period, couldn't handle the basketball for that 30-minute period. And if it wouldn't have been for Devontae Green shooting the basketball extremely well throughout the contest, they probably wouldn't have been in the ball game at all. So it's just befuddling in the sense of how this team kind of goes about their business. And a couple of players at the end of that game, at post-game press conferences, Jim said, we didn't come out with kind of energy, and I wanted to strangle somebody, because I mean, how in the world do you go into the Big Ten tournament knowing full well, and if they didn't know full well, then they're paying no attention whatsoever, that you've got a chance to make the NCAA tournament with that one win? And everybody was talking about the fact that they'll probably replace Ohio State if they win that game in the NCAA tournament. And I'm not saying that they didn't try and they weren't competitive to some degree, but how do you not come into that game without energy? I mean, how can you even say that? It's just befuddling. It's so hard to understand, and all I can say is, Jim, right now this team gets what they deserve.
Yeah, I agree. I could not agree with you more, Don. I mean, I was in the locker room afterwards and asked those very questions that you're talking about, and with the same astonishment, I'm getting the answers that they didn't know. Like, I don't have an answer. And I'm like, well, thinking if you don't know, then we certainly don't know. It's just one of those things that we're going to have to, after the season's over, I think, put away, and hopefully Indiana can move forward as there'll be a new team next year. But one of the things that obviously added to the pain of losing that game Thursday was on Friday, of course, Keon Brooks decided to, he made the announcement that he will be attending the University of Kentucky, not Indiana, and so they lose a good recruit there, which also hurts as well. But Indiana can now move forward in what they're going to be doing, but that's what they have to do with that.
Well, and regarding Brooks, I have no issues with him deciding he's going to go to Kentucky. If that's what he wants to do, that's what his family thinks he should do, that more power to him. I don't care where the kid goes, and it doesn't ever hurt me. I'm disappointed that a kid doesn't come to Indiana sometimes because he's such a highly regarded prospect and all those kinds of things. But I want somebody that wants to be here, number one, and if they had any doubts about coming to Indiana, then I want them to go to the other place because I don't want them to have doubts about that. And at the same time, Keon Brooks is a really talented kid and an outstanding basketball player. But I have no issues with that. I know that Archie Miller is recruiting some of the best players in the country. And from my perspective, you're not going to get them all. And when you don't get one, that's just it. That's the way it goes. And can he survive without Keon Brooks? And can the program survive without him? Absolutely. So I'm not worried about anybody who decides to go someplace else.
Absolutely. And the only thing that's bothering is when fans, the social media aspect where fans can actually reach out and interact with people, sometimes gets a little touchy. And I think there's been some of that, but hopefully that there's very little of that, and that goes away quickly because people should be able to make decisions that they think are best for them in their life and without being questioned about it.
Well, Jim, that's why I'm not on social media in any way, shape, or form, nor have I been since basically social media came into our lives. I've never been on Facebook. I was on Twitter for maybe 3 days. And then I got off Twitter. I don't even follow anybody on Twitter. I never look at Twitter. So I could care less. And I know everybody else is not in my world. That's fine. But it never bothers me about social media other than the fact that so many people put so much stock in it. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely, and that's why Don Fisher's one of the best.
Do I sound like that hearing aid commercial?
No, you actually sound like the smartest guy in the room right now, the only guy that's not involved in this ridiculous behavior. That's the funny part is. That's the sad truth. Absolutely. But so Indiana now does move forward. They have a game in the NIT tomorrow night at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. It's 7 o'clock. They take on St. Francis, where they're a number one seed. And, I guess the best way to look at this is they can use this similar to the way the women's program did last year. The ladies, they went and they won the NIT. This year, they continue to progress and move forward. Their team is getting better and better as they bring in different recruits and better recruits. I think that's something the men's team is probably going to do the same.
Well, they have that opportunity. Let's put it that way, Jim. There's no question playing in the NIT, it doesn't feel the same as it does the NCAA tournament. But here's the good news. Indiana's the number one seed in their region. They will play at home for at least 3 games if they can win them. And if they can't, they'll be done for the season. But they're going to be playing teams that are much like them, all hungry, all wanting to play in this event. Most of them, I would say that in any regard. I think most of these teams, even though they're not playing in the NCAA tournament, definitely want to be in this event and definitely want to do what you just said, grow your team, get better, play to win. Those are the things that will be interesting to me to see if this team does that, because we've seen that this ball club at times, whatever their frailties are, whatever their problems are, their Achilles heels are, shooting the basketball, turning it over, those kinds of things, can they improve on those things and find ways to win ball games? And this team has done that at times this year, and then at other times they haven't. And I honestly want to see what this team does in this tournament, because I think the mentality of this ball club has got to change. I think they can't ever go into a ball game blaming energy for not being able to come out with a victory or the reason that they played poorly. If they do that, if they play like that again, then I'm going to say this team needs to have some kind of a psychiatrist come in and take a look at what the problem is, because that is ridiculous to me.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. And this team needs to have that positive mental attitude in this set coming up for them going forward. This is what's going to make or break this team in the future, I think.
Well, I do too, and I think here's the other thing. This team has to develop a fierce effort, a fierce want-to-win attitude. They've got to develop that. If they don't, we're just going to see more of this next year. And I know, here's one thing I do know. There is nobody that wants to win more than Archie Miller does, and Archie Miller is a tough nut. He is one of those guys who wants to win. He wants to compete every time he walks out on the court. And I know that if they take on that attitude, and that's the one thing I think this team has missed a little bit, is that kind of, adapting their coach's personality to the way they play. And they do it sometimes. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, they did it in 6 straight ball games at the end of the season before the Ohio State game. They did it against Michigan State on the road. They did it back in December and November. But they have gotten away from that at times. They've got to find that alpha dog who's going to lead this ball club and is going to get in people's faces and tell them exactly what's what when things aren't going well and why they aren't going well at that point in time. So, honestly, I think this is a chance to see if this ball club can make some changes in their mentality, and I hope that they can.
I agree with you, and I think that I know Juwan Morgan, this is his last run, and he wants to go out with as big a bang as he can, and it doesn't matter if it's in the NIT or NCAA, it is what it is. So he's going to, he's going to give his effort, and whether Romeo is here next year or not, I'm sure that he wants to do the same, and I think that they're going to reach down and pull into the effort that we'd like to see them give.
Well, let's face it, they have done that in times, and they haven't at other times, and that's the issue. It's the consistency of that kind of want to. And honestly, the Big Ten, they break a record by getting 8 teams in the NCAA tournament. It has been the toughest conference in the country this year from top to bottom. You've got another Big Ten team in the NIT along with Indiana. That's Nebraska. That's a possible meeting at some point. And the bracket that Indiana plays in, they've got a couple of tough ball games coming up. Whoever they play after the St. Francis game, and I'm sitting here making it like St. Francis is not going to be an issue, but they are, because they've had a good season, and they've got the Player of the Year in the Northeast Conference in the Braxton kid. They're a ball club that can get up and down the floor. They don't have a lot of size to their team, but they do have bigs that can play in the middle. So basically, most of the time they play with four guards in the lineup at the same time. 6'5" guard named Keith Braxton is the Player of the Year in the Northeast Conference, so they're going to be a challenge in that regard. But there's no question that Indiana's capable of beating them and playing them at home. They should beat them. And obviously, if they win that ball game, of course, after that, then they possibly could play either Arkansas, a team that already beat them down in Arkansas, or Providence, a team out of the Big East who's very tough at times. So, and then Clemson's in their bracket as well. So this is going to be a very interesting first 3 games in this tournament. If they can win them all, they go to the semifinals in New York City at Madison Square Garden, and that ought to be something that these kids are looking forward to as well.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out Don on the call tomorrow night. The game time is 7. Pregame is at 6 Eastern time. Don Fisher on the call. Thank you so much for joining us, Don. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jim. Talk to you next week.
You bet. Don Fisher, the great voice of the Hoosiers.
And that was Don Fisher. Big shout out and thank you to Don Fisher for joining us as he does each and every week. Always great to hear his insight and when it comes to Indiana basketball. We will be back with more Indiana Sports Beat after this break. Make sure you stick around. Got some sound coming up from Archie Juwan and Terry Moore. And stick with us.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour of Indiana Sports Beat is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for taking so long, wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Jim Coyle with you. As always, Justin Kalen atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
Chronic Hoosier will be along for the party later on. Mike Schumann also joins us today, both in our next hour. Indiana men's basketball team takes the hardwood tonight at 7 o'clock in Simon Scott Assembly Hall in Bloomington. They'll take on St. Francis. First round of the NIT is Indiana's the number 1 seed, St. Francis the number 8 seed. You can catch that broadcast right here. You don't have to go anywhere. Don't have to change the channel. Just keep it right here. The game tips at 7 Eastern time, 6 Central. Don Fisher on the call, of course. Pre-game starts an hour before, so you can catch all the action. If you're not watching it on TV, which it's on ESPN. I'll be at the game, bringing complete coverage tomorrow, of course. Yesterday, Archie and the fellows met with the media.
They did.
Prior. Talking about doings, talking about a lot of things. Talking about not making the NCAA tournament, talked about various.
Yeah, I want to play. The first clip I want to play is Archie was asked about playing for the future, or does he play for now? And I liked his. It was a quick answer, but then you asked a really good question after he answers this question, so we'll just play them both.
Play to win. We play to win on Tuesday.
Obviously, the NCAA is where everybody wants to get to. The NIT is also a place that you'd enjoy playing in. But how challenging is it to get guys up for the NIT versus the NCAA tournament?
I think every coach is in a different situation. Like I told the guys, there's two type of teams in postseason play. There's one that's excited to keep playing, and there's one that's, whether it be down or out or not as excited. Those teams get eliminated very fast. You're playing against conference champions, or you're playing against teams that were like yourself, who had their opportunities, didn't get it done. They're still in a field of good teams, and the team that's the most excited, the team that's the most enjoyable right now to be around each other, the team that wants to get to that jump ball tomorrow and is excited, they got a chance to win the game. And I think that's the big part of it right now, is the willingness to get out there tomorrow night and could play as hard as we can, like we've been doing, and at the end of the day advance. And you're going to get another really good opponent in Providence or Arkansas, realistically in a few days, and that's a good team. Obviously we played Arkansas earlier, followed Providence very closely, a Big East team. You get to play that game. You win that one, who knows the next one you play. And, for us right now, it's about Tuesday night. Let's find a way to win, and let's see how it goes. And at the end of the day, we'll make some adjustments into the next one.
Yeah, I asked that question specifically because 1 week ago, not even a week ago, last Thursday in Chicago at the Big Ten tournament, Indiana's playing for their tournament lives in this first round game. All they had to do was win one game in the Big Ten tournament. They did not have to beat Michigan State. Yeah. They just had to beat Ohio State. That's all they had to do. They don't even show up for the first 3 quarters of the game. I don't know what, and you heard Don Fisher right here yesterday say pretty much the same thing, which shocked me a little bit. But if you can't get up for that, what the hell are you going to get up for?
Yeah.
Your season was on the line, basically. Your tournament life is on the line, and you don't come to play.
Makes you wonder how that can happen.
So, well, what it makes me wonder is how the hell do I expect them to get up for an NIT game against St. Francis?
Yeah.
If they can't get up for a your life is on the line game against Ohio State.
Jawan was actually asked that very question. I want to play his response, too, about getting the team up for this game.
Game with a winner-go-home situation.
It's very important, especially going through it, I think, my sophomore year. It's just going into it thinking, like, you're better than where you're at. But at the same time, like, you can't really go into it with that kind of mentality. You have to be ready to go. Every team is good in this as well. And you can't really just lay down and think it's going to be easy. You have to be ready to fight.
Has there been any?
Yeah, I think that was me asking that question of Jawan.
Probably.
Sounded like, well, right along with because they came in after Archie, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm.
No, maybe they were first. All right, maybe they did.
They were second, yeah.
Because that's why, that was following up to the question I asked Archie about that. And, they both gave good answers, but proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. Well, Archie...
I mean, I'm sure that Archie knows that this is on his shoulder to get this team up today. Yeah. Shoulders, but I mean, it's particularly on his shoulders because they're known to not show up.
Yeah.
So you can't take a wait-and-see attitude. And even with the players last week, Romeo was talking about, you could tell it wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, well, and my next question is this instantly, then why don't you all do something about it?
Yeah.
If you see it off the bat. So it's a little weird, man. This team's got a weird dynamic.
Yeah. That's one thing for sure.
Weird dynamic.
I thought in that Archie answer, though, I thought he kind of deflected your question. I mean,
a little bit.
He kind of went into the whole, well, whoever gets on the floor is going to have a chance to win the game.
Archie's a great politician, man.
Yeah.
Archie's a great politician.
For sure.
But, but see, that's the issue. And when you start having these issues, I think it's best to be honest enough front, because the media that's covering them all the time, they can see things. And then it gets to the point where the fans are seeing these things.
Yeah.
Don't act like it's not there. I mean, you just lose credibility to me with that. But hopefully they're ready to play, as they'll. I don't know that they could. Well, I'm not going to say that. Gardner Webb. Remember Gardner Webb?
Oh yeah. Well, and funny thing is,
Kentucky was in a similar situation a few years ago.
That's what I was getting ready to bring up. They lost to Robert Morris, who happens to play in the Northeastern Conference with St. Francis.
Oh man! Oh my goodness!
So there's that.
Kentucky was not at all enthused about playing in the NIT.
No.
As I get it. I mean, you're not accustomed to that. You're used to playing in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
It's an issue. It's certainly an issue. But I think Indiana will be fine. I think that Archie is going to go to whatever lengths he needs to make sure that this team is up and ready to play.
Yeah. Well, and the fact of the matter is,
I think that
they're at home, and that's a huge advantage.
Doesn't matter against Nebraska.
Yeah, I was about to say most years.
Or Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you another thing, though. This game was won yesterday. I posted the arrival of St. Francis as walked into Assembly Hall the first time.
Yeah.
Somebody was filming it. Maybe the basketball media person. I don't know. And they put it on. They posted it. St. Francis just arrived at Assembly Hall. We are honored to be able to play a team with the tradition of Indiana basketball, that stuff. But you can see them walking around Assembly Hall like they're in a museum.
Looking up at the banners.
That's what used to happen back in the day.
Yeah.
You look at the banners, looking at the seats going way up. You've heard about it. You've never been there. Now you're there. And it's like they're in the Taj Mahal. Yeah. Or as Gus Johnson would say, the Carnegie Hall of college basketball, Assembly Hall. But it does have that effect.
Yeah.
And this is a team that doesn't play in these type of arenas, man. And so they walk in and they're doing that. And if you listen to it, the blip that was posted, at the very end, you can hear one of them going, wow. There's your wow moment.
Yeah. And
that used to be worth 15, 20 points.
I think it still probably is when it comes to those smaller teams. I mean, you're right when it comes to the Ohio States and teams like that play in those big arenas. But when you're coming from a smaller conference like that and you're not accustomed to playing in gyms that big, I think it still is worth some points.
You betcha. And you look up and you see those banners hanging, man.
That's intimidating. Maybe not as much as it used to be.
I just found that funny yesterday. So I'm like, that game's won.
Yeah.
Or it's already halfway won.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I mean, that used to carry that kind of sway, man.
Well, and Juwan was actually
It'll
asked.
Get back there.
Yeah. Juwan was actually asked yesterday about the advantage of playing in Assembly Hall. Let's hear what he had to say.
It'll definitely be a huge advantage, just being able to feed off the energy from the crowd, because I remember the game was it's funny, I was actually just watching it like 2 days ago. It was like 37-38. Thomas had just got a dunk. We were up. And then next Josh Okoji hit like 3 and then a post hook. And then next we never saw the lead again. And it's just, the home crowd can be such an advantage, especially in postseason play.
You were watching the 2017?
That was the 2017 NIT game he was referring to there.
Yes, and then Mike Miller from the Bloomington paper asked him, "You were watching the 2017 NIT?"
you want to play that exchange?
He goes, it was just funny because he's funny, like, yeah, and he's like, "How does that happen?" He goes, "I don't know, to be honest with you." He goes, "Oh yeah, I remember." He goes, "I was talking about this," and the next thing, boom, boom, boom. But
him and OG were talking about it.
But the sad thing is that he played in he hasn't. He played in the NCAA tournament one time?
Yeah, his freshman year.
Freshman season. Shame for him.
Yeah.
It's a shame for all those guys. Correct. I mean, that's...
More so with Juwan, though. I mean, the guy's poured his heart and his soul into this program for 4 years, and we get him to one NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Bad timing.
Yeah.
Bad timing. But he's going to leave as one of the... Man, he's piled some numbers up.
Yeah, he has.
I don't know that people realize he's top 30 all-time scoring, top 15 in rebounds, top 15 in blocks.
Hell of a career.
All time. History of Indiana basketball. That's saying something, man.
Yeah.
That is saying something. Hey, hit us up on the text line if you like, 812-269-6367. I haven't been paying attention to it. Well, I just want to make sure I didn't miss one. I got up and... Well, you know me, I walk around a lot when I talk.
You're lying at the zoo.
Tiger, hidden dragon, or whatever. He calls me what is it you call me?
Pacing lion.
Lion, a pacing lion, yes. Pace like a lion at the zoo.
If you ever go to the zoo, they just walk back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, man. Indiana high school basketball state finals are set. We talked about that a little bit yesterday when Drew Davis was on. Silver Creek, congratulations to those guys, man.
Yep.
Happy for them. Making the state championship game. And that may be the game of the day, man. It's going to be hard-pressed to beat Ben Davis and Carmel.
I was thinking more so Bar Reeve, Fort Wayne Blackhawk.
There's that one, too. It's going to be a great game. But, I mean, you've got Caleb First in there, but then you go back to the one I was just talking about, and you've got what's the kid that's going from Carmel and going to Butler, Mac something. But anyway, and Big Dewan Jones going to be but Ben Davis is a very athletic team. But Carmel, man, they've only been beaten once.
Should be a fun 4 games.
Malloy, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it should. I don't know how the 1A game is going to be.
Great.
Not familiar with those teams, but
yes, you are. Bar Reeve. You're familiar with Bar Reeve. You watched them last weekend.
Oh, Bar Reeve. Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking they were 2A.
No.
I was thinking they were 2A.
No, they're 1. 2A.
Yeah.
2A.
Right. Who do they play?
Fort Wayne Blackhawk, number 1 team in the state.
Oh yeah, that's just going to be
That'll be fun. Yeah, 2A.
Fort Wayne, who
2A,
beat Marion. Didn't they beat Marion handily?
Earlier this year, I believe so.
No, I'm in the tournament.
No, Marion's 3A.
I don't know. Marion's what?
3A.
Oh, that's right. Why am I?
You always want to give Marion as 1A.
Well, I'm confusing the line. I don't have the lineup in front of me, and I know that Marion just lost to, I guess, Culver then.
Yeah, Culver.
3A. Which, gee whiz, Marion's pretty daggone good.
Yeah.
How good is this Culver team?
Gonna be a battle.
Joker texted in, Joanna asked those numbers playing limited time his first 2 years due to injuries. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he got to play some as a freshman, but he was hurt a lot, and he was not a featured player. So his freshman numbers basically not much. a little something, but
been a valuable asset to this team, no doubt.
Been a great member of the program. Absolutely. From day one, played as a freshman, contributed. Did everything you could ask for and more. Indiana's got to find a leader next year is what they're going to need most of all. And they have to have somebody on that floor that is a vocal leader. Yep. In my opinion, I just don't think you can have it. Obviously, this was a season without a vocal leader. You see what happens when you don't have a vocal leader. I'm just of the mindset that somebody needs to be in charge on that floor. Rob Phinisee did not feel that was his place yet as a freshman. I get it. He doesn't seem to be that kind of a Yogi Ferrell got to it. When he needed to get somebody's attention, he gets your attention. And I'm talking about his teammates. He let them know what was what. Somebody's got to fill that role for this team next year. Yeah. There has to be a leader on that floor. Preferably it's your floor general because he's running everything out there, but it doesn't have to be. But it's got to be somebody. They cannot have another season of this zombie-type play on the floor. Yeah. My thoughts, at least.
I like the topic, and I want to talk about it more, but we got
to take a break, brother. We're way late.
That's where I was going.
We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat. Chronic Hoosier joining us. Mike Schumann joins us. Stay tuned. More after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch specials. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome into Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Justin Kalen, high top the crew chief's box as always.
That's right.
Plenty to get to today on the program. Chronic Hoosier joins us for his weekly visit. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier will be with us as well. We're talking Indiana basketball as they take on St. Francis tonight. They open up big play in the NIT. The women's team makes the big dance. Lots to get to. We'll hear from Archie and the players. Let's get to Justin with the headlines.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 19th day of March 2019 as Indiana women's basketball does indeed get into the NCAA tournament as they get a 10 seed and they will travel to Eugene, Oregon to take on Texas Friday at 7 p.m. Indiana men get set to take on St. Francis in the first round of the NIT tonight. That game will be at 7 o'clock in Simon Scott Assembly Hall. And the NCAA tournament also starts tonight as the play-in games begin. Fairleigh Dickinson taking on Prairie View and Belmont taking on Temple. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 19th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Chronic Hoosiers on the show today, as always, and Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. Feel free, if you have any questions for them, comments, get those in on the text line, 812-269-6367. If you don't catch the entire show live, you can catch the replay any place that you find the podcast. You can find us and like us on Facebook. And like I said, the podcast places, Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. Each day you can find it at the dailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or the gruelingtruth.net.
Ubiquitous.
Good friends. Where are ubiquitous? Chronic will be along, as I said. Indiana hits the hardwood tonight, 7 o'clock tip. Eastern time, 6 o'clock Central. You can listen to that game right here on this station. You don't have to go anywhere. Don Fisher on the call. Tip time 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Pre-game starts an hour before, so you can check that out. The women's team on the road Friday night in the NCAA tournament as they received a 10 seed yesterday and a previously not secretly revealed selection in the women's NCAA tournament selection yesterday. The selections were leaked about 4 hours mistakenly before the selection show by ESPN, running across the bottom on ESPNU. They were leaked out at 3 o'clock. So then they decide to have an impromptu selection show at 5 o'clock, 2 hours before their scheduled selection show at 7 o'clock, which they turn into a breakdown of the selections. And so all these big selection watch parties and the stuff that were scheduled to happen, just poof, up in the air. Thanks to ESPN.
Well,
Thanks to ESPN.
And not just the teams either, but I mean, you've got a lot of big women's basketball fans out there that look forward to watching that selection show, and they turn it on 7 o'clock and they're breaking it down. What? Where's my bracket selection?
Well, it was a goofy thing, man. They just screwed that deal up 6 ways from Sunday. But oh well, it all doesn't matter. Indiana women's team playing in the NCAA tournament Friday night, 7 o'clock. To take on Texas. Won't be easy. 7 seed Texas Longhorns.
Well, and
this is Coach Terry Morin's second time of getting this team in the NCAA tournament in, I think, like 5 years.
Yep.
They've only been in the tournament 4 times total ever in the history of the program.
This is the 5th, yeah. Pretty incredible.
Not a bad job.
But Coach Morin talked about what she thought about getting the invite.
Awesome for our players, awesome for our staff. And once again, we sit here and we're really just proud of the opportunity that we have in front of us. And this was our goal that we set out in early October. And it's great to see that the fruits of our labor has paid off, but we still have work to do.
There you go.
Coach Terry Morin, Indiana women's basketball coach. Women's team celebrating making the NCAA tournament, as they should, for only the 5th time in program history. 2nd time under Terry Morin's regime. And things are looking good for that program.
Yeah.
Trending in the right direction.
Agreed.
Progress. You go from having the greatest player ever last year, losing her, and then you have a better year the year after that. That's progress. That's a program heading in the right direction. Not only did you lose your best player, you lose 2 of your best players ever. Amanda Cahill was another great one.
See if the men's
But
team
they're
has been
better
taking
this year.
notes.
Well, the men's team needs to follow this recipe because the women's team won the NIT last year. This year they followed up with an appearance in the NCAA tournament. Allie Patberg and company, Bree Wiseman, Bindu Yaney. Trying to think of them all, just off the top of my head.
You got Kim Royster.
The
Grace
senior.
Berger.
What's that?
Grace Berger.
Grace doesn't start. She's like the 6th man.
Right.
I'm missing a starter. Daggone it.
I thought you named them all.
I'm going to have to look it up. I think I missed one. I hope not. But, yeah, support the women. Friday night. Yesterday, Archie and the players met with the media in advance of tonight's first round action of the NIT at Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
Yeah,
what do you got for us?
Archie was actually asked about St. Francis and what jumps out about St. Francis to him. We don't know St. Francis, so let's learn.
Yeah, I mean, I just think in looking at them here early on, you have a team that won about 8 in a row. They played really well here down the stretch, lost in their conference title, but were able to win the NEC. And, they player of the year in the conference is a mismatch guy inside. Sometimes when you play in November, you play against these undersized teams, but they cause you a lot of problems because they're so mobile. They have a really, really good point guard. Again, first-team all-conference player who's a terrific quick kind of guy. And they get some shooters. But I think just in general what you're going to deal with is a team that's, obviously really amped up to play Indiana, and Indiana's got to find a way to be really amped up to play the game as well.
Indiana's got to find a way to be amped up as well. A little worrisome state.
Yeah.
It's true, which is why I asked him the question I did. Well, we'll save that for later with Mike Schumann, but I asked him about that very thing, about the challenge that he faces as a coach to getting this team up, a team that obviously, and himself included, that would obviously prefer to be playing in the NCAA tournament, not the NIT.
Yeah.
Juwan Morgan also. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to Juwan Morgan because he actually talked about not making the NCAA.
Perfect.
Make the NCAA tournament.
It's very disappointing, but I think at the end of the day, we controlled our own fate, and some of those games, when it came down to the wire, we didn't make the plays we needed to win, and still playing in the postseason is great, and we're gonna go into it ready to win.
Juwan Morgan met with the media yesterday. Another thing that kept coming up that's driving me insane is people wanting to blame the 20-game Big Ten schedule on Indiana not missing out on the tournament.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why Indiana missed the tournament. You lost 12 of 13 games. You lost to Rutgers. You lost to Nebraska. You lost to Minnesota. You lost to Northwestern. Do I need to continue?
I think we're good here.
You lost to Ohio. You didn't even show up to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, except for the last 6.5 minutes of the game. That is why Indiana's not in the tournament. It's not because they had 20 Big Ten games. Well, they could have scheduled 2 less Big Ten games. They got 2 more wins. Really? So they can't beat Rutgers. They can't beat Northwestern, but they're going to beat somebody else.
Yeah.
You can't beat Arkansas, but you're going to beat somebody else. They had the chances. See, that excuse-making drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
It's excuse making, excuse making, excuse making. There is no excuses. They lost 12 of 13 games, many of which to teams they should not have lost to. Period. End of story. End of discussion. That is why Indiana's not in the NCAA tournament. No other reason. Not because the Big Ten has 20 games. Not because of this. Not because of that. Because they didn't show up to half the games that they lost. And they lost to teams they shouldn't have lost to. The wins were great. The quad one wins, they're awesome. But those losses to Nebraska and Minnesota by 21, and I can go on and on and on.
Well, I think the overall quad one record didn't help either. They were what, 6-10?
6-9, I think.
6-9.
Well, I mean, it's 6 quad one wins, but it's those 9 quad one losses.
Yeah.
Had that been equal,
they're in.
Probably would have been okay. But just like, had they just simply, I think they could have simply played well against Ohio State last Thursday and made. I think the committee would have put them in. Look how close they were losing.
Yeah.
I mean, the score ended up not being that badly, but the score was not really reflective of that game. Indiana didn't play for the first 3 quarters.
No.
And they still were close to getting in. So what does that tell you? A little bit of effort, probably in the tournament.
I mean, it wouldn't have taken much to get in over St. John's.
No, so I really am not up for hearing any of these excuses on why Indiana's not in the tournament. I know good and well why Indiana's not in the tournament. And people just got to get a reality check, man, if they can't see that.
Yeah.
That's where you start getting ridiculous, being a ridiculous fan. Keep it real, man. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Quickly, before we got to get to a break here, one interesting thing that's going to be there to watch tonight is going to be the rule changes for the NIT. They've done a lot of stuff.
Great point.
And Archie talked about that as well. I want to squeeze that in, too.
Quick turnaround. Players won't even realize it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's a couple things our staff will have to make a point of emphasis on us understanding what's going on. Fouls and the shot clock reset are things that our team needs to be addressed. The line going back to the international line, I don't feel like that's ever really been a problem. I think guys shoot behind the line anyway. The widening of the lane is a good thing. Obviously you widen that lane up, you continue to open up the floor a little bit. All these rule changes they put in place for the NIT, I think have all been positive over the course of the years, and just watching the games and listening to the coaches after the fact. So there's some things our players will have to understand, whether it's the fouls, resetting, or it's the shot clock, going down on an offensive rebound. But in terms of the line and the widening of the lane, I don't think the players will really see much of an effect on that.
No, they're going to jack those 3-pointers up regardless.
All 40 of them.
Yeah, that's my concern. Hey, we got a new 3-point line. Let's test this out. The only person that should be shooting 3-point shots is Devontae Green.
I could agree with that.
Dude is killing it. He's killing it over. He's the best shooter they got.
Yeah.
Look at the percentages. Look at the numbers. His last 18 games, I think Mike Schumann, I'll ask him about this. I think he had this on yesterday. The last 18 games, he's shooting like 43% from behind the arc.
That'll do.
That'll do very well. Thank you very much. When the rest of the team is collectively shooting around 20%, 20 to 30, come on. Justin Smith out there jacking up threes and shooting 20%. He ever shoots another 3-pointer, he should be banished to Poland. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if he trips and falls. The ball should not come out of his hand. Yeah. Hey, we got a lot coming up, man. Chronic Hoosiers on the show. Mike Schumann's on the show. Lots to talk about. Indiana's on the hardwood tonight. Simon Scott Assembly Hall. The NIT gets underway. You can catch that game right here. Don Fisher on the call, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Central. Indiana Sports Beat's got plenty more. We're back right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, Located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway, Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
You know what that means. It's Tuesday, and Chronic Hoosiers along for the ride. Chronic, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's postseason in Bloomington. Not necessarily the postseason I think most folks were hoping for around these parts, but it's that time of year. It's win or go home for the men and the women. We'll see. I'm excited to get it started and see exactly where this leg of the journey concludes.
Yeah, before I forget, let's congratulate the women. They're a number 10 seed in the NCAA tournament. They will play Friday night at 7 o'clock out in Eugene, Oregon, taking on the Texas Longhorns. But congratulations to Coach Morin. Second time she's gotten her squad in the NCAA tournament, only the 5th time in program history. So great shout out to those guys. That program is trending in the right direction.
It's pride of Seymour, Indiana, doing what she does here. This is her second tournament appearance in 5 years with the program right here, where they only made it previously 4 times in the 43 years prior to. So she is certainly finding success early and often here in Bloomington, as you mentioned right before I hopped on. To be able to replace, kind of the program stalwarts in Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill, obviously with the addition of Brianna Wise and Allie Patterberg, she didn't have in much of a rebuild. It was more of a reload, and continues to take that program to new heights.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, man. They're really. I never would have thought that this season would have been better for them than last season, but they picked up right where they left off and just built on that, and a lot of good recruits coming in. She's been building it with recruits, but a lot more coming in. That program is just top to bottom. She's doing a great job, and it's trending the way you want a program to trend.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think there were. It was kind of ironic when the program received its AP votes in the top 25 poll and actually broke through at that sometime late December, if I'm not mistaken. You had both the men's and the women's teams recording AP vote or receiving votes to get in the top 25, and they seemed to be on parallel tracks at the time. The women's team, like the men's, kind of had a stumble there in mid-season through a multitude of factors, probably not the least of which, or the greatest of which being, they battled quite a bit of injuries.
Unlike the
men, they were able to stable the ship and get things, get a course correction and found a way to get to the postseason. So, good on them. But it was one of those where I think both coaches looking back at this year are going to see a lot of opportunities that were missed through, in a lot of ways, circumstances beyond both their control.
Yeah, and the men's program now underway tonight, 7 o'clock tip at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. First round of the NIT. St. Francis comes to visit. I noticed yesterday I sent out a post that it's kind of like the old days, but this game is already halfway won because when St. Francis arrived, the team came in and someone was filming it, and you could tell it was like they were in a museum. And at the very end of the video, you can hear somebody go, "Wow!" I'm like, "Okay, that game's already halfway won." That Assembly Hall getting into the heads of these guys. They've never been here. They're not accustomed to seeing gyms or arenas like this. And man, you come into Assembly Hall and those banners are waving, and it's pretty imposing for the first time. But that's how it used to be, and how it carries over. It's a 15-point advantage before they step onto the floor.
You mentioned one of those guys. I think the whole team was recording it when they walked in there. That was a really, really cool video. It kind of got you in the feels a little bit. My buddy that runs the IU Artifacts account had mentioned that was very reminiscent of the scene from Hoosiers when they walk into Hinkle.
Yes.
I tend to agree with that. But what I would counter that with is we all remember how that team performed when they got in that big and I know Dan Dawkins has a theory that, whenever you see teams that are kind of gobsmacked just by the side of Assembly Hall, that's an automatic 15, 20 points, that's going to decide the game. I would caution, I've seen way, way, way too many times when guys step in and they rise to the challenge of the environment there. And I think that's the biggest concern for me heading in tonight is which Indiana team's going to show up. And when I say which, is it going to be a team that actually wants to be playing right now, or is it a team that would just assume hang them up, get on with Little 5 season and return to being college players and going in their various directions here? You asked Arch the question yesterday. It's no small task to get a team refocused at this point in the year, even though they do have the advantage of home court. Throughout the semifinals of this tournament, we've seen this too many times before when the Hall's missing the bodies, when it just doesn't have the energy it normally delivers. It doesn't take a whole lot. We've seen that just as recently as last year. Think of IPFW, Indiana State, teams that on paper would have no business being in that game on that particular night. Once they get a little bit of confidence, it just snowballs, and there's an inverse effect for the home team in those situations. You throw in the shame of playing far lesser competition in a second-tier tournament, and it's going to be a test of this team's resolve, whether or not they want to come out and execute the game plan the coaching staff's putting together for them. Because, again, on paper, this shouldn't even be anywhere close to a contest. Vegas currently has it as an 18-point line right now. But I'm not real comfortable about this until I see exactly where this team's head's at, how connected they're going to be playing. And honestly, at the most basic level, whether or not they still want to be playing basketball this time of year in this particular tournament.
Yeah, that's a scary thing, and that's why I asked that question yesterday, because you go back to just less than a week ago, last Thursday in Chicago, when their tournament life was on the line, and they didn't show up for the first 3 quarters of that game. And so it's like, man, if that can happen, what should we expect in an NIT game where it's kind of like, here's your consolation prize? So it is a little, it's a lot of curious thoughts. What's going to happen then? The crowd. What kind of crowd are you expecting to see tonight? As it's spring, it's usually always been a problem in the past getting people back into the assembly. What are you expecting tonight, Chronic?
Probably a gym that's about half full. I think the athletic department's made some wise moves to giving the students free tickets or compliments of the athletic department. General admission seating, so folks that do want to go, I believe gates open at 5:30 tonight. Get there early, and you're going to have a great seat. They do give people some incentive to get there just because of the general seating setup. $20 ticket, free parking. I saw my timeline was interesting when I saw those details, and I shared it along. There's a lot of apathy, and it's always kind of hard to tell by, when we look at social media, sometimes it's the minorities that make the biggest noise. A lot of people seem to be unaccepting of Indiana's current fate, that this is somehow beneath them. I even saw somebody share an article from a couple years ago where IU deferred the home game. Tom Crean's last season, they ended up giving it to Georgia Tech. Because it would somehow, hosting an NIT game somehow devalues Assembly Hall. That was the administration's line at the time. And I found that interesting, both as a contrast in where the program is here a couple years after the fact, also perhaps in coaching philosophy. I think this is indicative of a staff that really wants as much time as they can with this team to make improvements, to get them better, not just for next season, but to end on a more positive note. I think they're probably all, as you saw expressed in the comments post-game following the Ohio State loss, and then again yesterday. I don't think anybody's particularly happy with where the Big Ten tournament ended after the run they'd put together to close the season. I think they all recognize exactly how close their goal was to being achieved. And as you said right before I hopped on, it has nothing to do with the 20-game conference. It has nothing to do, honestly, even with the lackluster performance they put on at the United Center last week. This is all the chickens come home to roost for Indiana right now. And you can go all the way back to the tip end at Arkansas. You can go back to the second half of Maryland. There's just the schedule is replete with examples where they had opportunity in front of them. They just could not rise to the challenge. And as a result, here they are right now playing in the NIT against a school that most people have never heard of before. So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how many people show up and exactly what type of energy both the fans and the team bring, and whether or not it's going to be enough to propel them forward in this. Because I do think that this is a good opportunity for this team, both on the micro kind of and the macro level here, as far as leaving a more positive taste in folks' mouths, giving people something to look forward to. I'm sure as well as I, as well as many people do, this offseason could be awfully miserable around here when it ends on a disappointing note. And obviously, there's only be two teams at the end of this tournament season that are going to finish with the win. There's going to be 350 some odd teams that end their season on a loss. Everybody has to do that, but two. That said, though, man, it's a whole nother beast when you find yourself in the NIT, and I'm just really, really curious to see what the Hall brings and what the boys look like here going forward.
Yeah, and you, Chronic, you've kind of perfectly segued into something I was going to ask next, is how this can be and must be used to change the culture of this program, because this program is obviously in need of a culture change as Archie is kind of going through that these first couple of years, instituting his culture, I guess, quote unquote. But this is what this team obviously has to go through. I think what we saw this year was a team that it was hodgepodge together, a mixed match of this regime, that regime. People talk about this player, that player, his players. He's got to get his own, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there has to be a culture that Indiana used to have. That when I talked about those teams walking into Assembly Hall, that used to be the case all the time. But they've got to get back to that. And I think that this is no better place than to start right here than now. Than when you're at a low point, you got to start rising up. And there's no better place than to do it right now for this team.
No, I completely agree, 100%. I think that's something that a lot of folks have been longing for some time now. There was always an understate or a given, if you will. It didn't have to be stated that when you put on that jersey, you're going to play hard, you're going to play smart, and you're going to go out there and give your all. And I think we've seen, for many years now, we've seen a culture where that wasn't always the case. Obviously, different staffs, different points that they were emphasizing within the team styles, ways they want to play. One of the biggest challenges with this version of the Indiana Hoosiers is there have been too many nights where they came out and they just did not look ready for the fight. Archie, notoriously had called them soft, and basically saying they were a weak team. They were mentally not ready to take the punch and then swing back. That's got to change. And with this style of defense, with the way that this team wants to play, they absolutely have to be the aggressor. And it's in games like this, particularly, we saw it again last year against, again, I hate to keep harping on it, but against teams like Indiana State, against teams like Fort Wayne, it doesn't matter what jersey you're playing. It does not matter. At the end of the day, there's going to be 5 dudes out on the floor that are coming for your neck, and you have to rise to that challenge. And, the expectation has always been when you play at Indiana, you're good enough that you can answer that bell. There's been some sort of a disconnect here for some time now, though, as far as their ability to respond to that, to believe in themselves, both individually and collectively, in order to overcome those situations. So I think you're exactly right. I think this is one of those instances where, on paper at least, this should be, these are all winnable games for Indiana. There is a path, a very clear path for them to get to the Garden for the semifinals and the finals of this. Even more so now that who's that big dude from Arkansas that's going to sit this one out? He's shutting it down.
Gafford. Gafford is going to the NBA.
They're big dude. He's the guy that gave us fits down there. He's going to hang it up. And, there's been a lot of discussion whether or not that's appropriate given Romeo Langford's projected status here going into the draft. What did you think of the Kravitz article about Romeo? Man, perfectly honest with you, I didn't read it because I've already had this conversation ad nauseum. I mean, literally too many times.
Just the fact that was written, I thought I had a problem with the fact that suggestion came from the media because that had not been suggested by Romeo or his camp. So for that suggestion to come from the media, I thought that was out of bounds personally.
That's one of the new trends in college sports. You see it, most predominantly in the bowl games, where guys are shutting it down. They've already proven themselves. Here's the thing, though, about there's a stark difference between basketball and about football, and the way in which guys prepare, the way in which they train. Usually, the injuries you're going to see basketball players take, they can happen at any given time. I mean, if you are still training, if you are still preparing for whatever comes next, whether it's the NBA draft, the off season, it doesn't matter. If you're going to lace them up, you're going to subject yourself to injury because even in scrimmage, even in practice, even in open gym somewhere at the Y, you're still going to be going 5v5 up and down the court. You're still playing full court basketball. There's going to be some level of competitiveness in the way in which these guys, most commonly blow out knees and things of that nature. I don't know that there's a way to escape that risk. So I don't think it's an apples to apples comparison as you look at the risk reward ratio, and the choices a lot of these guys have to make. And, at the end of the day, I get it. I get why a football player is confronted with that choice and decides to shut it down. It doesn't make nearly as much sense to me on the basketball level, as a whole. And then when you look specifically at this particular case, I do believe that Romeo is pretty solidly in the lottery at this point, according to most NBA draft analysts. That being said, though, there is still a lot of money on the line for him if he's able to raise his stock. And, quite frankly, Romeo hasn't necessarily covered himself in glory here throughout the bulk of the season. He was effectively shut down against Ohio State again. I think it would probably behoove him. I don't know that he's going to move up a whole lot of draft lines or a whole lot of lines on the draft board, rather. But I don't think it's going to hurt if he has a chance to put on a better showing to end his brief stint in the NC2As.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. Chronic Hoosier, can't thank you enough, man. Look forward to it each and every week. We'll see you at the Hall tonight.
We'll see if we're still talking about basketball this time next week.
Thanks a lot. Chronic Hoosier joins us each and every week. Thank you, sir. We've got plenty more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier joins us next. Stay tuned. We're back with plenty more right after this.
everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
By Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Tuesday, talking with Mike Schumann now, our friend from the Daily Hoosier. Michael, how are you, brother?
Doing great, Jim. How are you doing?
Good, good. Hey, you posted something the other day, maybe yesterday, but about Devontae's numbers, Devontae Green, over the last 18 games. Shot like 43% from behind the line. I forget what the numbers were, how many he had hit, but far and away, Indiana's best shooter over this part of the season.
Yeah, I think it was 45%, and you're right, over the last 18 games. And that's
incredible.
It is. I mean,
for this team,
I think
that's like
I think
that's Michael Jordan-esque for this team.
Relatively speaking, I hear you. It snuck up on me. I mean, it was obviously somewhat inflated by the last game, but when you're at 45% over 18 games, it's no one game is going to make that much of a difference. He's just been feeling it for a while now, and it's one of those things where it's risk reward with him. With the turnovers, you saw that in the Ohio State game too, and for people that watched it on TV, you heard what the commentator said there about it's basically like a nuclear situation where it's either great, it's providing energy, or it's a complete meltdown, and that's the situation sometimes. But part of me wonders if you just kind of leave him out there and let him get comfortable and let him get more playing time if some of those turnovers don't go away, because he just gets more comfortable on the floor and doesn't worry about the bench sort of thing. I'm curious about him and a whole lot of other people in terms of tonight and what happens with playing time.
Absolutely, yeah. Devontae's been a surprise nonetheless. One of the players that just kind of played like Troy Williams. He was out of control. He's got this great talent, but it was unharnessed, and it seems like he's gotten a little grasp on and listening to what Archie's been in his ear about, because those turnovers were huge, and to get rid of those, that's big. And this team had done so well leading up to that Ohio State game with turnovers. Devontae still played well, but they went nuts in that game. Turned the ball over like 17 times again, I think, and it was also their undoing. I mean, Ohio State turned it into like 24 points off of turnovers, I think, versus 6 for Indiana. It was a crazy stat.
Yeah, it was especially crazy, as you suggested, in light of how well they had done in that 4-game winning streak. I think they were averaging single-digit turnovers in those 4 games, and to turn around and just lay an egg. I mean, I do think Ohio State plays good defense, seemingly at their best against Indiana. I think when they had Kalen Wesson in there, just the matchups were ideal for them to guard Indiana, and it just all came together to be a little bit of a disaster. I mean, even during the comeback there in the final 7 minutes, I think Indiana had a couple head-scratching turnovers that if they didn't have, probably may have been enough to completely complete that comeback. But obviously that wasn't the case, and here we are.
And, dwell on this too much because it's done, but Keon Brooks, spurning Indiana to go to Kentucky, the social media aspect of that, there's been a lot of debate on social media about it. Here's my take, and I want to hear yours. I think it definitely played a part in it. I don't know how much. I don't know how big of a part, but I think that's mainly because his mother is active on social media. And I think that she was really on there, and she had engaged in some conversations, and she got her opinion on what was going on with it. And I think that opinion is actually skewed because you've got it's always a loud minority that does things. It doesn't matter what the situation is, whoever you're talking about. It's usually a loud minority that causes problems. And I think that was actually the issue. But I do think that the social media played a part in that. I don't think it was the biggest reason. I think the biggest reason is simply because Indiana's season sucked, and he didn't see this as a place to come get developed as quickly as he would like for the NBA, and he felt that was better elsewhere. That's what I think is that. But I do think social media played a small part in it, and just my take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard that take. It's just so hard for me to believe that that's possible. I mean, especially in the case of the Brooks family. I mean, they're a sophisticated basketball family. They didn't go into this recruitment blind. I mean, obviously everybody knows Keon's father was a very successful college basketball player, and so they knew what they were getting into. They had been active on social media for quite some time. And to me, going on Twitter and expecting not to run into trolls is like going out in the rain and expecting not to get wet. I mean, it's just going to happen.
Exactly. Well, there's nut jobs out there, and you can't control nut jobs. I mean, I don't care who you're talking about, what program you're talking about. There are people that are they're not normal people. And like anybody else, they have access to Twitter and Facebook and everything else. You're not going to keep them off there. So, like I said, I don't think it was a big part of it. I do think it played a part in it. I think it turned the mother off to Indiana. And if you lose the mom, well, you lose a lot.
Right.
But that's just and that's just an opinion. That may not even be any fact at all to that. So know that. That's just my opinion that I'm espousing here. It doesn't mean jack. But Indiana has to move forward now, Mike, and play tonight at 7 o'clock at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. They have to get up for this game. They have to get up for an NIT game against St. Francis. They couldn't do that against Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. Why do we think that that's going to happen tonight?
Yeah, I mean, and I wrote about that last night. People can go read that today. I guess the biggest question in my mind to that point is it the entire team that can't get up, or is it individuals that are kind of just dragging down the whole effort? And I think if you go back and listen to Juwan Morgan's comments after the Ohio State game, and we've got his quote in our article this morning, you'll see that he'd have to clarify this to be sure, but it certainly sounded like he was kind of indirectly pointing the finger at one or two people that just did not come to play. And I think to paraphrase what he was saying, it was, that we can't light the fire in those individuals. They've got to be able to do it on their own. There's only so much you can do to get somebody ready to play and willing to give max effort out there. And so, I can understand that if you got a guy or two that's a regular in your rotation that, just for whatever reason on a given day doesn't show up, that's gonna cause you some problems. So, we're not going to speculate on who he was talking about, but I think he clearly was talking about somebody. And so, just another thing to be curious to watch for, tonight, and if they advance is, what changes with the rotation, because if you listen to Archie yesterday, he is playing to win these games, but he's also building for the future. I mean, I think that makes sense to do both. I mean, of course you want to win, but I don't think that the things are mutually exclusive. You can play to win, and you can also, give guys like Grace Thompson and Jake Forrester and Demezy Anderson, you can give them more minutes in the rotation. I think they're the ones that are going to benefit the most from this experience. And I think, guys like Morgan and Zach McRoberts, they're probably not going to mind too much to give up a few minutes for the betterment of the program.
Mike Schumann from Daily Hoosier, we're talking with us right now. I could not agree with you more. As a matter of fact, I think that is probably the most important thing. What else is there? I mean, playing in the NIT doesn't mean jack. So use this to benefit this team that is in desperate need of a culture change and a revamp, so to speak. In the process of doing that right now. Archie is in the process of doing that, but you've got to use this to build that for the future, I think, because this winning the NIT doesn't do anything for you. So that cannot be your main focus. You've got to use this to benefit this program, because this program is in a state right now where it needs everything positive and that it can get itself back to the level it used to be.
Yeah, and look no further than the women's program, right? I mean, they were in this exact same spot last year, right on the bubble, didn't make it, went on a great run, and really carried that momentum forward. And now they're in the tournament the next year, and the program's headed in the right direction. I think they've got the model right there in front of them to, why it makes sense, for the betterment of the program to play hard, as long as they can stay alive here and keep moving this thing forward. So hopefully that's what goes on. But, with the way this season has gone, it's hard to expect that. But I do think we're going to see, very little tolerance for one or more players not coming out to play. I mean, I think what you'll see is, games like the game at Iowa, where if somebody's not playing, they're going to sit probably the rest of the game, because it's just, there's other guys that are chomping at the bit to get out on the floor right now.
And now, the regular season being over, we just talked about improving those giving experience to the guys that can use it for next year. That's never more important than right now. So, yeah, if you're not going to perform, Archie is probably much more likely to go to his bench now than he has been, out of fear of losing those games, whereas he doesn't want to lose these games, obviously, but he probably has a lot more leeway when you're playing a team like St. Francis in Assembly Hall. But, yeah, hopefully he does do that, and they can use it to promote the growth of the team and the program.
Yeah, and just as a fan, I mean, taking a step back, there's some of those guys that didn't play a lot this year that I would really like to see more, because I'm quite frankly concerned that they didn't produce at the level that I think that we thought that they would, and that their potential suggests that they can, like a Demezy Anderson, that I think is a lot better of a player than what he showed this year, but. He didn't get a lot of minutes, and I think when he got the minutes, you saw why. He just didn't look like a guy that was consistently ready to go. But I think, further to those comments about building a team for the future and the culture, I think if he got 20 minutes a game for the next 3 games, that might be what he needs to build some confidence for the future. Because I think players like him, the potential's there, but we just didn't see it this year.
Absolutely. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Make sure you check out thedailyhoosier.com for free IU content. Go there right now for the freshest and latest stories. Mike will be there tonight at Assembly Hall, as will I. Mike, look forward to it, man. I'll see you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you tonight, Jim.
As well, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier, dailyhoosier.com. Check out that free IU coverage and content. That's going to wrap up today's show. Looking forward to seeing what transpires tonight at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, Justin, to see if Indiana can certainly come out of there with a win. That shouldn't be a problem, but that's where we are.
A lot of interesting things to watch tonight. I'm going to be watching for the new NIT rule changes to see if any of them have the potential to be implemented into the NCAA. I'm going to be interested to see which Indiana team shows up. Is it the team from the middle of the season, or is it a team that ended and began the season? Both of those things are going to be really important to me. I don't imagine St. Francis is going to cause a big fit for Indiana tonight. I look for them to win pretty handily.
Absolutely. Quick last text from Tommy as we get here. My theory is they didn't want to tell Archie and Mr. Brooks, ex-coach, no, so they used social media as the scapegoat. I think you're absolutely right. They're looking for a reason to say no, and they're losing. Gave them no. For gosh sakes, it was just social media. They wouldn't let him go to a school that fans threatened a ref's life. Yeah, that's just. But I didn't want to get into that stuff too much. But that's going to wrap it up today. Make sure you stay tuned. The game's on tonight, Indiana, right here. For Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio.